Today we are going to continue to the chapter Consumer Demands. So let me share with you the lecture note screen. Okay, now we start moving to the next section. And this is the travel time and consumer demand. So one of the consumer demand factors that has been found to be important is the total elapsed time from origins to destination. A carrier which can offer a noticeable reduction in the elapsed time will be more successful in attracting passengers. And airlines economists have found it useful to break up total elapsed time into four separate components. The four components are the deviation from scheduled times, the actual linear time, the hub connection time, and the denied boarding time. So here I will explain to you each of the attributes. First is the scheduled wait time here. The scheduled wait time, this is the time from when the consumers desires a departure to the availability of an actual departures. Second, the airport access time here. This means this is the time for the travelers to get from their home or places of business to the airport and to do the check-in airport, to clear the security and customs, and etc. And for the flight time, this is the actual time from the scheduled departure to arrival at destinations. This might be broken up into three separate components. Firstly, the deviation of scheduled times. Flights, that means the flights takes longer than published because of the late departure or arrivals. Second, the actual in-air time. So this is the actual time spent flying in the aircraft. This is affected by the type of aircraft, for example, the jets versus the propeller, the air traffic control, and other delays, and degree of the roof security with the hubs and the spoke systems. And next, the hub connection time. This is the time spent on the ground at the hub airport, making connections from one spoke of the flight to another spoke. Denial boarding time. This means that occasionally a passenger must wait from their originally scheduled departure until the next departure because the original flight was overbooked and they were denied boarding of the aircraft. So the segmentation of total elapsed time allows identification of opportunities for reduction. And for example, more frequent flights reduces scheduled delay time. Use of a closing or downtown airport, provision of door-to-door limousines services, or expedited check-in procedures can reduce the airport access time. So the use of the faster aircraft, for example, you can use the jets versus the turboprop, or Concourse versus the traditional jets. So this will allow for reductions of actual in-flight time. And procedures asking for volunteers when aircraft are overbooked have shifted the denied boarding time component to those travelers less sensitive to the total elapsed time. So the next section is that The effects on hubs on passenger travel time schedule and the schedule delay time and passenger demand. And we have 4 effects here. The effects on passenger travel time and schedule delay time. The second, the effects on passenger demand. The third is the effect on price. And the last one is the effect on city pass served. So firstly, you see that the effects on passenger travel times and schedule delay time. So as compared to a non-stop flight, a hub and spoke networks increases the average passengers in flight time because of the need for extra connecting time at the hub and the circuitous routing of the passenger's trip. And second, the effects from the hub and spoke network. As compared to a non-stop flight, a passenger flying from city A to city D. So you see on the right chart here, in city A, they want to fly to city D via the hub H here, and they will face the additional time penalty of the following magnitudes. So you see that, firstly, they might have roughly 30 minutes due to the additional dissonant accents of the hub here. And second, perhaps an average of 60 minutes for times to connect from one flight to another hub. And thirdly, the extra cruise time required for the circuitous routing. The extra cruise times depends on both the angle between the spoke connecting to two stations through the hub and the relative distances of the two cities from the hub. So this is shown in the lower portions in the next slide. So here you see that a large angles, for example, linking city B to city E through a hub H. So they would add very little time, whereas the small angles with an equal distance. For example, you link the link of city D, city C to city D via the hub H. So they will add a great deal of extra time. So as the distance on one spoke shortens, the circuitous routing time penalty will drop. For example, from A to F. And because of the time penalties of circuitous routing, passenger will be unlikely to fly for the hub when the penalty is high. So just in this figure, the routing switches to F, H, E, or the CHD might not be viable at all. So here you will see the hub and spoke networks and the loss of cushions. So in this figure, you see that the total time penalty of a hub versus the non-stop flight is thus approximately 90 minutes, plus the circuitous routing time. For purposes of exposition, let's just assume the average angle to the hub of viable city pass to be 129 degrees. So with spoke length equal, you see, the distance is equal. So this implies a circuitous routing penalty of roughly 25%. And assuming a typical flight through a hub involves 2 hours of flight time, so the circuitous routing penalties is around 40 minutes. So the total time penalties is thus 120 minutes as compared to a non-stop flight. However, a hub and spoke system could allow the airline to increase schedule frequency. The increased frequency reduces the passenger's scheduled wait time. This means the time between the passenger's desired departure and the actual departure time. So the reduction in scheduled waiting times depends on the increased frequency with the hub and spoke system versus a system of non-stop flights. So assuming that consumers' desired departure time are uniformly distributed over 14 hours per day. So one flight per day means that the expected frequency delay is 7 hours for an average passengers. And as the departure frequency increases to 2, 3, and 5 flights per day, the scheduled wait time decreases to 3.5, 2.3, and 1.4 hours. And so for the case when a move to a hub and the spoke system increases frequency, and from 1 to 3 flights per day, the scheduled wait time is reduced from 7 to 3.4 hours. So it means that we can save around 4.7 hours. So the total effects on the travel time is the difference between the time penalties. This means the extra ascents or distance or the connect time or the extra cruise times and the reduction in the scheduled wait time. So next, this is the effect on passenger demand. So to move to a hub a spoke system will affect the passenger demand in several ways. And as discussed, the hub system will affect passenger travel times and negatively for routes already with high frequency and those involving backtracking. And positively for routes which previously had infrequent service or involved multiple stops. However, there are other effects as well. And this includes the disuniformity of the making connections and the effect of price and the effect of allowing the airline to serve many more city pair routes and when new stations are added. So the hub utility, and I'll say this for easy understand. A hub and spoke system can increase the number of transfer required to get from origins to destinations. This reduces the comfort and convenience of the passenger. And we are all familiar with the chore of getting off one crowded airplane and boarding another. And there is a potential to miss a connection if the inbound flight is late. And these factors create this utility for the passengers. So these utilities can be valued. The passenger is generally willing to pay to avoid this hassle. For example, they are willing to pay somewhat more for a non-stop rather than a one-stop flight. So the rules choice model, so estimated by the authors such as the Canavani and Cobrian in 1985, they say that the review value of one transfer to a connecting flight is worth about 1.75 hours of transit time. And since the time required for a passenger to make a connection, 1 hour, the period utility of making a transfer is equivalent to a time delay of about 45 minutes. So assuming that the value of time is around $30 per hour, so then the value of the hub connection is utilities is around 22.5 US dollar. So next is the effect on price. So passenger demand for travels is highly responsive to price, and adoption of hub and spoke systems can affect price in several ways. first are effects on cost. A move from non-stop to hub flights increases flight time and fuel and crew costs, etc. And these extra costs can be offset in a number of ways. The move to hub and spoke systems can lead to increases in average traffic densities with a resulting drop of unit costs. For example, the spread in fixed station costs over more passengers. The frequent routing of aircraft through the hub could allow more opportunities to increase aircraft utilization, achieve economies in maintenance. And second, the adoption of hubs and the resulting increases in city pass or serve can allow the carrier to better utilize its inventory of unsold seats via modern system management techniques. So this may result in offering gift discounts for likely travel segments that cannot be connected to popular destinations with a resulting increase in system-wide passengers demand. And next is the effects on city pair serves. So here you see in the charts. So let me explain to you. If a new stations, let's call this the K here. So you see the blackboard had been added to the no-hub route structure in this period via a flight to say F. This is the purpose board here. And then only the handful of new city pairs would be viable. If viable city pairs are those involving one stop, then the additional 2K to F opens up new 3 city pairs, for example, the KF, KD, and KR. In contrast, adding a new station to have already serving cities and opens up to service to a new origins destination, including the OD pair from the new station to the hub. So theoretically, a hub system with the end stations, so including the hub, will provide the zero reverse stop service to the n multiplies to the n minus 1 and then to divide by 2 stations. So this greatly lever the effects of adding stations to an existing hub. For example, by increasing the number of stations connected to a hub from 9 to 14, so the total stations, including the hub, rise 50% from 10 to 15. The number of OD pairs served more than doubles from 45 to 105 cities pair. So one of the important consequences of this leverage is that it can make service to smaller communities viable. A community which generates experience to passengers per day to each of 30 city pairs in a network can justify a daily charge flights. And if on average, it can generate 6 passengers per day in each OD pair, then 3 charge flights a day may be possible. It seems to have been a major discovery for some carriers after deregulation. So immediately after the regulatory reins were loosened, some of the major carriers dropped service to small communities, and a hub have been established. However, they restarted jet service to small communities by tapping them into the hub. And this one, I've explained to you the S-curve effect on flight frequency. The importance of flight frequency is a key determinant of the consumer's choice of airlines, has been expressed by aviation economists in an S-curve. And this figure shows this phenomenon. This shows that a carrier as price in a market, it can gain a disproportionate share of total market traffic. For example, in a two-carrier market, the one with 60% of the flights may receive 80% of the passengers. This phenomenon is consistent with the earlier data on the importance of schedule convenience in the consumer choice of carriers. This is especially important for the business traveler. The power of the S-curve is further enhanced because the business travelers also tend to pay higher airfares. And the S-curve effect may be an important factor in the strategic power of hub-and-spoke systems. Hubs have considerable traffic generating power. As a hub carrier adds flight on a spoke, it will likely pick up increasing portions of the traffic on the route, making it more difficult for the competitors to maintain the share of the market. As this effect takes place on an increasing portion of the spoke from a carrier's hub, the carrier strength in the market becomes formidable. So this phenomenon is sometimes referred to as fortress hub.